Good morning, and thank you for joining us today for our monthly trade and tariff roundtable discussion. This is our last.
Steph, you're muted.
Okay, so I'll start that all over again. Good morning, and thank you for joining us today for our monthly trade and tariff roundtable discussion. This is our last session of the year, and what a year it has been. I believe the word that has been used to describe it is unprecedented. Economic development professionals, you have worked so hard to weather the storms and support your communities, and thank you for all of the hard work that you do. Today, I will be leading this discussion and conversation, and I truly hope you have come to share your thoughts and ideas. So let's get started here. As we meet today, Prime Minister Carney, President Sheinbaum, and President Trump are in Washington, D.C. for the FIFA World Cup final draw. At the same time, the U.S. Trade Representative is holding critical hearings on the future of CUSMA and whether to extend, renegotiate, or withdraw from in 2026. Canada-U.S. trade negotiations are remaining frozen, with both sides locked in a tariff standoff. There are hearings in Washington that are continuing, but no breakthrough has been reached. Canada is preparing additional retaliatory measures while the U.S. industry groups lobby against further escalation, and rumors of talks restarting persist, but as we will see, time will tell. The U.S. Supreme Court is reviewing whether President Trump's tariffs imposed under the emergency powers are constitutional. The lower courts have already ruled against the use of authority, saying the tariffs power rests with Congress. And companies like Costco, Revlon, and Kawasaki have sued the government with the total disputed tariffs could exceed $90 billion. And the possible outcomes that could come from this is that the Supreme Court will uphold the tariffs, and that means that Trump retains the broad emergency authority. They could strike down the tariffs, company claims would be refunded, and Congress would reassert trade authority. Or we could see a mixed ruling where the emergency powers are limited, but some tariffs may remain under other statutes. And with mounting pressure, Trump did roll back some tariffs on some food products. He has been facing growing angst among American consumers about the high cost of groceries, and U.S. producers are increasingly vocal, warning that Trump's tariffs are hurting their own competitiveness and market access. Canada is taking further action to protect its steel and lumber industries by reducing tariff rate quotas for steel imports, introducing a new global 25% tariff on certain steel derivative products, and encouraging domestic consumption. Yet the impact is real. We had the announcement this week with Algoma Steel in Sault Ste. Marie announcing 1,000 layoffs. It's a devastating blow to that community. Algoma's strategy includes transitioning to electric arc furnace steelmaking, closing its blast furnace and coke making operations earlier next year, and reshaping its product mix to better align with the demands of the Canadian market. And it's been reported that Algoma has started to receive orders from Canadian companies. So there's hope that many of these jobs may be brought back, but it just leaves a lot of uncertainty for that community, especially at this time of year. There is some good news as well. We heard in our October session that there are automotive parts industries are shifting and seeing some investments and prospective investments being discussed across Ontario. And this is a good news story, as we also hear of the Canadian automotive industry shrinking with historic lows. Thousands of jobs have been lost and investment flowing into the United States, and Ontario, unfortunately, is bearing the brunt of that. And there are some bright spots. I mean, this morning the headlines reported that Canada added 54,000 new jobs in November, dropping the unemployment rate, the national unemployment rate, to 6.5%. And there have been a number of investments announcements by Invest Ontario over the past month and previous months. Most recent ones include AtomV Global Radiopharma Inc. with their plans on investing over 138 million in Hamilton to expand its capacity to manufacture radiopharmaceuticals for targeted cancer therapies. We had Marple Technology plans. They're expanding in Ontario to advance R&D for next generation AI semiconductor technologies. And this investment will see a new office established near the University of Toronto and scaling up existing operations in York Region and Ottawa. Vanode plans to invest $3.2 billion to build its first North American facility in St. Thomas, Ontario. Northern Transformer Corporation is expanding with a $207 million investment, expanding their operations to Innisfil. And SK Pharmaceuticals, in partnership with Euforma, is launching Mentis Care AI, a new AI digital health joint venture in Toronto. This is just what has been announced over the past month with Invest Ontario, and there were a number of investments announced throughout the year. So there are some bright spots. Canada and the US are still stuck in a trade war, with negotiations frozen and industries on both sides pressing for relief. The major turning point will be the CUSMA review in 2026, which could either reset relations or deepen the divide. And we are seeing Canada and Ontario focus on new investment opportunities in Europe and strengthening those relationships, which will diversify Canada. However, we still do need to work with the US as they continue to be our strongest trading partner. And now it's time to change things over to you. How are your communities feeling? Are there any are they being negatively impacted or staying the course? And is there anyone who would like to start sharing and talk about what's happening in your communities? Now, we've had Brock usually in the past, and he picks on people, so I really don't want to do that. Is there anybody that'd like to talk about how their communities are being impacted? Oh, perfect.
I
Brent.
can jump on just because I'm in Sault Ste. Marie, and
Oh,
yeah, it's been rough. These, it's not like unexpected. These thousand layoffs, we knew it was going to happen, but the timing is unexpected. It's been early, about a year or plus too soon, so people aren't ready for it. It was a huge shock to the community. I think it's actually going to be an even deeper shock than people are expecting or anticipating it's going to be. Like even like coming down, like the trickle down effect, right, with real estate and everything, even and indirect jobs. Like at Fedor, we work with a lot of SMEs that support the steel industry, right? Algoma Steel, and their work is just drying up right now.
yeah,
So it's not easy. It's pretty difficult, and a lot of it's because the tariffs and whatnot, and the lack of a deal. Uh, yeah, it's a tough time. Luckily, some other places like Tenaris, they're doing really well in the Sioux. But yeah, as far as steel is going, it's not easy. Forestry, like they've been hit so hard, it's just brutal. And honestly, I've been following the tariff thing very closely, and I think some sort of deal has to get made soon. Like we have to restart the negotiations. Some sort of deal has to be made, right? But
yep,
what I'm really worried about is the Kuzma renegotiation because Trump could just say, you know what, in 6 months, I think he has the 6 month buffer. Like he'll say, I'm out, and then there's 6 months and he's out. Then Kuzma's done, right?
exactly.
That's scary because
Well, and
90,
he's so unpredictable. You have no idea what way he will go,
yeah,
and it can switch overnight as we've watched.
totally. And like that's a great card that he has to play if he wants to. Like that's the nuclear card, right? Like
Hmm.
he can do that, and then boom, now we're totally at his mercy. Because even with Kuzma, I think I just saw a stat. It was like 99% of of funds involved with trade going back and forth isn't tariffed because it's covered under Kuzma, right?
Exactly. It's a
So,
huge that will have a huge impact on Canada,
mhm, yeah,
and all of our industries. And
exactly.
it doesn't
I'm going
seem
to
to.
say one thing very,
Oh,
very quickly. I
yeah.
was talking to somebody I know quite well in Ottawa yesterday. I'm working in the energy sector right now. So, and they basically said there's 100% chance that they're going to give notice in
Oh,
Oh,
July. Yeah, yeah.
wow,
And
that
that's
that's
crazy.
there's a huge bone of contention right now in regards to because that's just going to open up. I mean, there's word on the street is they're not gonna have to wait them out, but there is 100% chance at this point in time with the negotiating team that, and I'm sure he's going to say that today, and possibly if they do talk, that he will give notice. And at that point in time, I know they could see it could be 6 months, but I mean you can't trust anything that he says, anyways.
Yeah,
no,
Um, you know
it makes sense
when
though that he
I
would
work
do
with
that.
some
I
pretty
think.
horrible people in the energy sector. And when they don't
Mhm.
trust the US government to keep their word or do anything, I mean, the environment right now is very, very poor. Very,
yeah.
very poor. And Canada's looked on a while. They just don't know what to do. They want to invest, but It's sort of up in the air. They want to see where we land. You
Exactly.
may
Well, if we
love or
think things
hate
are bad
Carney.
now,
You guys
make
are
it so much
economic
worse.
development. You're working in the field. I've been 2 years away from it, but I see a lot more interest now in investing in Canada. So, and people coming
That's good.
back. So Carney's doing. I think a lot of people worldwide respect Carney.
I
So
agree. I think he's done
I'll
a
leave you. I'll leave it at that. But I just wanted to let you know the conversation I had was quite passionate and full of. There's no way that this is going beyond. He wants to play the tariff game. As long as he's alive and running the White House, he's going to play the game. We're going to
yeah.
have the Smoot Hawley decade here. Yeah.
And then what happens, and that's part of my ignorance, but what happens when the midterms take place next year, and let's say the Democrats take over the House? Are they able to stop and reset things, or will this still lie under President Trump?
No, they'll be able to offer oversight at that point in time. Excuse me 1 second. I
But
just need to grab some.
Yeah,
but the
thank you.
problem with that is even if something happens at midterms, Trump is anticipating this. So he
Hmm.
has said he's going to give $2,000 stimulus checks to all Americans, right, who
Right.
make under 150,000 or whatever, and that's from the tariff. So if he
Hmm.
does that, it's not as easy as just taking the tariff money back. All of a sudden, like you're playing chess, and it's tough.
Exactly. Thank you for sharing and how things are happening up in Sault Ste. Marie. I was curious about the community, and my heart certainly went out to them, especially this time of year to have that kind of blow. I understand that the layoffs don't take effect until March, which gives a bit of a cushion, and hopefully they're able to diversify their products so they can keep things moving forward. But I see Mike Baker, you have your hand up from the Wood Manufacturing Cluster of Ontario. Oh, you're muted. See, I'm not the only one.
Morning. I just unmuted it and then it muted itself. I don't know.
Oh,
Anyway, thank you everybody for giving me a moment. I wanted just to raise some attention towards an industry that's getting missed in the House, and it's getting missed at a lot of different levels. Excuse me, but it's not going to be missed in your communities when this happens. So some of you may know this or may have missed it. I don't know, but the last round of tariff hikes, kitchen cabinets were included, and anything to do with, and that includes millwork that do cabinetry, and also upholstered furniture and some manufactured value-added softwood products. And so that 25% tariff went in place, is taking place already. And a lot of our members are splitting that. Just to give context, $610 million of cabinets alone get exported to the US. There's about 7 billion in Ontario alone, which is value added wood manufactured products. 35% of that gets exported. 35 to 40% goes to the US. Nationally, there's about 350 million bucks that January 1st is going to 50%. And that's going to kill SMEs in all your communities in Ontario that are in this space. Now, Vaughan is unique because Vaughan's got over 200 SMEs in our industry. That's just one region. So all of you are from different regions, different sizes, and some of you couldn't care less. You care less about this industry because you got more important industries. But across the board, there's a lack of awareness of the impact this is going to have. We met with some MPs last week. They tried to take it to the House. Hopefully Carney got it. But so far, our industry hasn't really gotten some of the news it needed to, because these are jobs that are across Canada. I mean, just beyond Ontario, but Ontario, obviously the biggest concentration, that are SMEs in small and large communities. And it's a huge loss that's going to come if those tariffs at 50% hit it at January 1st. So just prepare yourselves, because you're going to have these companies coming to you if they're in your communities and they're exporting. And some SMEs rely less on the exporting than others, but it's roughly a good percentage, about 35 maybe even as high as 40% of them do some export into the US. That percentage of their manufacturing that goes to the US varies, but we're scared. And there's going to be a big impact. There is already with the 25%, and those companies that are exporting, they're splitting it with their customers down there, waiting this out. But so that's, they're kind of holding their own right now. But if the 50% comes, it's going to kill all of the companies in your communities that are exporting to the US, that are manufacturing kitchen cabinets, commercial millwork, upholstered furniture, or even just your value-added softwood lumber components. It's worth 20 billion in Canada, and it's a big industry, bigger industry than most people realize. And so I just wanted to draw your attention to it. Your constituents that in your communities, be aware who they are. If you don't know who the folks in your communities that are in our space, get to know them, because they're going to need your support. We're working on a number of different things, trying to get different levels of government to help us with some new export markets. But more is going to need to be done with that. And, the tariffs need to be lifted. They need to be eliminated, or at least reduced to, a manageable rate. And I'm hoping that, our team in Washington is going to be pushing that. And our industry doesn't get the attention it needs because we get drowned out by the primary industry, which is all lumber and logs, and you're just shipping, that type of, we call it the primary industry, because we are a resource economy. It gets most of the news and most of the funding and the money and attention. And then also we get drowned out by automotive and other important industries and steel and everything else. But this is there, and it's going to bite your communities. So just be aware of that, in any support that you can advocate for your companies in our space, in your communities. Just be aware who they are and watch for them, and speak to them, reach out to them. They'll need your support.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I live in Grey Bruce, which is a very strong wood manufacturing cluster, and that would be devastating for this area if we started to lose any of those manufacturers.
The NAHB has been going crazy over wood, and that's in the States. I mean, they're saying the Americans are going to hit a crisis, are they not, next Q1 next year, in regards to, and I know it's not wood manufacturing, but just in lumber in general. But there's also that's finished goods. I think they're having issues with as well, are they not? I see a lot of I see a lot of panic on the American side there. So
absolutely, because that's why
sorry, the National Association of Home Builders is what I was talking about, the NAHB.
Yeah.
So they're losing their mind in the States.
Yeah.
They said they literally can't continue to build.
And you'd think they would have political clout. So it's hard to understand, because they don't have the capacity to supply they need our excess capacity. That's why we're there. Canada, we wouldn't already be exporting there if it wasn't a Darwinian thing economically that worked, right? They don't have the internal capacity to sustain it. So there's going to be there's already a lot of disruption, but it's going to get more chaotic. So it's important for everybody to be aware of that. And I'm not talking about logs. I'm not talking about lumber. These are real manufacturing jobs that have real multipliers in your communities. And this is why, the cluster model is a tool for economic development. And for any of you EDOs who aren't aware of us and who we are your cluster for your SMEs in this space. And so we've been doing a lot of outreach to EDOs in Ontario. We are members of EDCO. We do come to the conference and we exhibit. Reach out to us, engage us, because we can provide a lot of supports to your companies as well through the cluster model we have.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. I see Basil, you have your hand up.
Thanks, Stephanie. Hi, everyone. I'm Basil Kazaz. I'm the research director at Canadian Skills Training and Employment Coalition. It's called CSTEC. CSTEC has been working with the city of Sault Ste. Marie, and that's just to follow up on Brent's point. We have been working with the city of Sault Ste. Marie. We have been working with the United Steelworkers and Algoma on making sure that we work on an effective transition for the affected workers in Sault Ste. Marie and the impacted workers as a result of the Algoma layoffs. Now, we have been doing a lot of outreach to different parts of the government on a federal level, on a provincial level, and we're experimenting with different approaches of helping these workers transition effectively, either through upskilling or through direct support to reemployment. And we're looking into different industries and sectors which have the potential of, for example, absorbing some of these workers and have the potential of growth in the future. Now, something else that we also do is economic impact analysis, which is economic modeling on a provincial level, on a national level, and we also do it on a regional level. And I mean, one of the reasons I thought I joined the call today is to tell you more about the work that we do and see if it might help you. Because we can help you determine on a regional level or a local level the industries that are going to be most impacted by the tariffs and help you identify in a better way the companies that you should give attention to as a result of these tariffs. Now, as Mike said, there are a lot of SMEs in the regions. A lot of SMEs don't have the capacity to talk to the government, to reach out, or they don't know actually the support and the help that they can get. And I think um, your role here is to reach out to some of these SMEs and offer the help and offer the support. um, so on a modeling level, we run our economic model, and we try to identify these industries. We look at what the output or what the GDP impact on these regions are, what the employment impacts on these regions are, how many jobs can be potentially lost as a result of these tariffs. And yeah, I mean, we try to go around and tell regions that we're here to support them and help them. And we hope that the work that we're doing in Sault Ste. Marie can be translated to other regions. And yeah, we're here to help and assist.
Thank you very much for sharing that. If you have information that we could include in our weekly e-bulletin, we'd be happy to share that just to make sure that we're connecting our members with your services and making sure there's a conversation there.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Thank you. Are there any other communities that'd like to share how your communities are doing, how your small business are doing, and what they're feeling from any of the tariffs, or how the Christmas season upon us with downtowns? Crickets. Um, we'd love to hear what local businesses are saying about the current economic climate and how they're being impacted. If there's any good news stories that could be shared, or transitions that are being made. I know I think it was at the end of August, we'd heard that in some sectors they were looking at transitioning their manufacturing, potentially from automotive into defense items. Have we seen anything move forward with that?
I hate to speak for because I'm not an EDO working with a municipality, but I know for Muskoka, there's been several big wins. There's been a new parts manufacturer that's been brought here who is not CUSMA compliant, and he will be building in the near north. And tourism numbers are off the chart this year. So that's really, and I'm sure you've heard that already. I think that's everywhere in Canada. They've had a very successful year, hopefully enough to sustain them through the winter season. And we expect winter to be just as busy. So that's Muskoka.
Yeah, that is one industry that thankfully has not been impacted on a negative. The tourism industry has certainly grown. The numbers from the summer were showing, pre-pandemic levels, and some great growth there, both with domestic and international visitors. Sue, I see your hand up there.
Hi. Yeah, it's interesting. So I'm in Leamington, Ontario. So we're the most southern municipality in the mainland, and 40 minutes across the Windsor border to Detroit. And we are finding the tourism from the States is still really solid. Definitely more Canadians staying in Canada. And there's a sentiment from anyone in Essex County who's um, you know, they don't cross the border, possibly for the Lions. I know a few people who went over to see the Lions in Dallas last night. Well, worth it. But we're still seeing a lot of Americans are actually coming over and really stating how much they love Canada and how much they love Canadian neighbors. So we've been benefiting from tourism in that way. Um, we're noticing, Windsor, Essex County, huge automotive, battery plant, that type of thing. We're seeing those investments coming in more, and a bit of diversification as well with that, not just auto battery now, right? We're looking at other type of batteries. So that is really interesting, that slight pivot. And then a lot of our tool and die makers are looking to other countries for supplies. They're looking outside of China. That's kind of a trend as well as looking at other fields to manufacture for. And then, feeling for Sault Ste. Marie, I know our little town of Amherstburg here in Essex County just lost Diageo,
Yes.
which was huge. It's been there for 100 years more. So we're still seeing that type of piece coming in. And I think it is affecting our downtowns a little bit in some ways and positive, because people are trying to do the local, even if it's a percentage, and that is a definite shift. I've been in ECDev for almost 4 years in this area between Kingsville and Leamington, and that is something I've noticed that people are at least trying to do. Okay, I'm going to do, 20% of my shopping will be local as opposed to Amazon delivering it to my door, even though it's more convenient. So I
Yeah.
think people are seeing that as well.
Which is a great shift to see for downtown businesses. And I went across the border last or 2 weeks ago to visit family in the States. And I have to say, it's kind of nice because what used to take, could take up to an hour to get across. I had 2 cars in front of me and there were only 3 lines open, where usually it's, 8 lines and they're backed up 10 cars deep. So yeah, you do see that the traffic flow is not going to the States. We are staying primarily in Canada.
Yeah.
Sean.
And
Oh, sorry, Sue, go ahead.
oh no, I was gonna say, and that is a definite shift as a Essex County born and bred gal who grew up half and half. That is a huge shift for this area to be making.
Absolutely. Yeah, the cross-border shopping on those border towns has always
Yeah.
been huge. And yeah, it's interesting to see what's happening with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sean Columbus.
I do have to say I'm guilty as charged going over to Detroit from here. And so I'm representing Chatham-Kent, also close to the border as well too. And some of the feedback from the small businesses has echoed the point that ingredients or components or whatever they're using, if it does come from other sources outside or that may be tariffed, they're feeling a bit of that impact because their pricing has also gone up. So people do like to support local, but sometimes the price point might raise that cost based on what they're tariffed as well. But overall, there's been some positive feedback, but that's something that's been mentioned a bit on the small business perspective. In terms of some of our traditional industries like automotive parts suppliers and a number of those, the defense sector, aerospace, some of those diversification things are being looked at or investigated, or some are taking action in those parts. So, and then also cross-border trade and investment opportunities. So in our community, there's been some media news articles out there of one example that there's an investment that is coming to our area out of province. We're kind of in certain stages of that, but there's been a little bit more activity on that regards too. so it's contributing some of the agri-food portfolios in terms of that type of investment. So some movements and shifts, but nothing's all positive either. So those that are, if those tariffs keep going up, that's going to impact a number of those that are in the traditional sectors that are being tariffed as well. And then on the other part, there's the outside of automotive parts, there's a number of industries that are exploring those trade options too on our end too. There's one other thing I was thinking it might come back to me, but that's just kind of a high level overview of our area here. The other thing was the exchange rate. So it came to me just now that one of our businesses mentioned they still can remain competitive in the U.S. because that exchange rate still is keeping them going. So one of the things we do ask for a number of our large employers or large industries is, how are your trade shows going down in the States? Are you still able to get the customers that you traditionally have had? So some have been saying it's been okay because of that, but it just depends if it stays that way. So we're kind of gauging that a little bit on a close level too.
That's interesting. The dollar being so low is actually a benefit to an extent when it comes to this trade because it absorbs some of that tariff, I guess. And your growers, you have a lot of growers that supply into the United States for food processing. Are they in a strong place or are they feeling any impact?
I guess there still is a lot of exports in terms of our growers as well, and I know Sue on the call. Leamington's a huge area for the greenhouses, and we have a few here as well. That percentage of the amount that goes across to the States is still very high. So that is still a large export out. So we haven't heard a lot of negativity on that regards, but there is a few businesses that are looking at maybe bringing things a little more local to have that supply chain and kind of having the full circle of what they're doing with their food industries too. I see Sue's got her hand raised. If you want to chime in on that, I know you got more greenhouses than us too.
Well, I just kind of confirming what you said. We have about 85 to 90% of the produce grown in Leamington goes across the Windsor border, the bridge, and especially the new bridge coming, right? It's going to be huge for that. And it was interesting at one point in the tariffs that tomatoes were legitimately like referenced as, something, especially including Mexico, right? Mexico had the tomato tariff that we didn't have. And, you can see how the economy, how important that is just when mentioning tomatoes specifically. The other piece I think is as well that I've seen the trend in greenhouse is that with the recent IESO LT2, piece, we had over 29 project sites submitted for municipal support resolution letters as it was part of the process that they needed to have. And so that shows me that, they are trying to be much more self-sufficient. Mm-hmm. And then also kind of give back to the grid. So one, obviously cutting costs and making their Canadian operations more profitable, but also kind of playing nice with, more government agencies in a way which you haven't always seen in the past. Mm-hmm. So I think it is really interesting, and they're pretty tight-lipped industry, but there are subtle things like happening that I think they're kind of staking claim to Canada more. And then the ones that do have, most of the greenhouses, the larger operations, are now also becoming publicly traded. Right. Mm-hmm. Families that have had them for 3 generations are selling off, certain percentage of the companies. So there's that happening now more than ever. And then especially those ones, they have operations in, here between Leamington, Kingsville, Chatham, here, and then in the States through Ohio, Kentucky, Texas, and then in Mexico. So watching what they do, I think, is super interesting because they have all three players.
Yeah.
And how they're doing it. I hope someone does a study about that afterwards for an active paper.
Right.
Won't be me. Won't be me. But I think that's really interesting to watch what they're doing. And I think that's a really good indicator to see what business direction they're taking. We also have our MPP as our Minister of Agriculture here in Ontario. MPP Trevor Jones is the minister.
Yeah.
So that, watching what is happening there is really interesting as well. So I think it's not a crystal ball, but I find that what's happening there is something to watch.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for that information. It's good to know that that industry's, doing well and weathering the storms and minimally impacted and seeing some diversification across the board is strong. It's neat to see the paper, a paper about.
Yeah, it would be a great topic for an active paper, I think, is watching, like, to see how industries that cover off all the three, the CUSMA area, how they're handling and how they're prepping. Anyone with operations in Canada, US, and Mexico, especially with so much cross-border sharing of their product. I think that if anyone is doing their active paper I've already started mine on another topic, but I think it would be a super interesting a topic to do a paper on.
I'm just submitting mine for my second year for my, so that would be I was doing something completely different as well, but that's a good idea.
Yes, we'll have to put that one in the suggestion folder for U of W or even for our Bright Ideas competition next year.
Very, very, very relevant. Yeah.
I see a couple people from MedCat. I wondered if anybody wanted to had any information to share from the Ontario lens.
Good morning, Stephanie. It's Melissa Pierce. How are you?
Oh, hi, Melissa. Thank you for taking me off the hook here.
Oh, no problem at all. I'm sorry. I would turn my camera on. I'm just moving between offices right now. So I'm just in like a little bit of a corner right now. So
yeah.
I guess the only thing is thank you for everybody for sharing the stories. It's great for us to hear this. I hope that most of the people in the room right now are aware of the different trade impacted programs that the province and feds offer. So if anyone has any questions on those, please, this would be a great opportunity. But know that we're out here as well. Anybody, of course, we have our senior business advisor straight across the province, but please do, if anybody has any questions, I'm here to answer any questions.
Awesome.
And thank you, Stephanie, for having these. These have been wildly informative. So thank you.
That's great to hear. We've had a lot of positive feedback from these sessions this year. And looking towards next year, we are going to be sending out a survey to past participants to see, the good, the bad, the ugly on our roundtable discussions. And maybe we change the name instead of trade and tariff. We just call them EDCO roundtable discussions and have them on a regular basis to share practices and ideas and help each other out. That's the best part of this industry is the sharing that takes place. Is there anybody else on the call that would like to share what's happening in their community or how their businesses are adapting? Is there uncertainty or are they feeling positive? It's interesting to see the news that is coming out every day. It's you get kind of a mix of the good and the bad. We've got industries that are making investments, and we see the work that Invest Ontario and the Ontario government and the federal government are doing in building those relationships in Europe and working to bring new industries into Canada. Lots of great conversations happening, and hopefully we'll see some of those come to fruition and see our trading globally increase while our trading to our largest trading partner is in an unstable place. It's also really wonderful to see the trading across Canada and the support. I don't know that I've in my lifetime remember a time where Canada has ever been stronger and more supportive of one another. And it's a wonderful place to see us in, even if it's through this negativity. Yeah, we've got 20 minutes left in this session, but I know we have a smaller group, so there's maybe less sharing. If there's anybody that would like to ask a question, if there's information that you're looking for that we can maybe help bridge the gap, we'd be happy to do that. I'm not seeing anything. I appreciate the information, Stephen, that you've provided in this, and as well as Brent from the Wood Manufacturing Association and from Basel. We definitely will provide that information in our e-bulletin so that our members know who to contact and prepare for what could be coming down the line. Keeping our fingers crossed that CUSMA does not get notice from the US, and hopefully we can move forward in a positive trajectory. I'm sure we'll see some conversations coming out with Premier Carney or Prime Minister Carney, excuse me, and President Trump. Hopefully those negotiations can restart and be fruitful.
Mhm.
And yeah, I'm not seeing any other hands. So maybe we'll end a little sooner. And we are, as I said, this is our last trade and tariff roundtable discussion for this year. We're going to take a little break until after the conference. So we'll look to restart in February or March. And as I stated, we're going to send out a survey to all of our past participants to see what the feedback is on these sessions and how you'd like to see the format moving forward. We've received a lot of positive feedback on hosting the sessions, and it's been great having everybody participate. Little shameless plug that today is the last day to get your early bird discounted rate at the conference. So we hope to see you all out in February at the Westin Harbour Castle, downtown Toronto. And I'm wishing you and your family a very happy holiday season. Hope everything goes well for you, and have a wonderful day.
Same to you folks at EDCO, and thank you everybody else. Cheers.
Thank you.
Stephanie. Thanks, Laura. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.